On deck today, we are talking silver and we're talking the 2008 silver Libertad. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Titty Hunter.
It's been over a week since the last recording, and last time around, silver had just gotten past $45 an ounce, and today we're over 48, almost reaching 49. The interesting thing is there's a lot of folks that were hypothesizing last week. There's a holiday right now ongoing in China called Golden Week, essentially running from October 1st to October 8th. And there was a lot of folks thinking, if the Chinese are on holidays and their markets are closed, well, it's a perfect time for silver to take a hit. But I mean, nothing could be further from the truth. Before we talk a little bit more about silver, something that's just been pressing on my mind. I've been pretty busy with work, and I know I work in the world of, people call it AI. It used to be called machine learning. Once it was called predictive modeling. So it's gone an evolution of vernacular over the years. So it's kind of what I studied, and it's just one of these things with AI is it's a huge theme right now in the economy, and everyone thinks that AI is going to take over. Everybody's going to lose their jobs. And I mean, in the short term, at least I could say with good confidence that nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, this is what I studied. I studied math. I studied programming. I went to grad school for it. And a funny story I'd learned in grad school when folks started to build out models. Back then, the term was machine learning. The term AI was not in vogue yet or whatnot. And folks were building models, and there used to be a method of building models. It was a joke, essentially saying kitchen sink modeling, where everyone just dump all the data into the kitchen sink and let the model say what's important or what's not. What I think happened then, it happens now. Folks still do that. They're just like, they want to use a model and say they used a model, so they will just dump everything into a model. There's something in the AI universe that it's called vector embedding based AI. So essentially, people are literally just taking structured and unstructured data and just kind of like mathematically speaking it, superimposing it as like a vector, and then trying to create prediction. But at the end of the day, I'm the type of person that's all about using machine learning, using AI, but it's got to be well grounded in business, and the data has to be structured and ready and cleaned up good enough that it makes sense in a business context. I mean, this is an extreme example, but it's kind of to prove the point. Let's say someone's looking to model, let's predict heart attacks, and someone does one of these vector embedding based methods, and they just dump a bunch of data and they say, oh wow, look at this, it's saying that ER visits cause heart attacks, but that's not grounded on reality. So that's a very extreme example, but I mean, it proves right there that you can have the situation of correlation. Data will show you correlation, but it doesn't generate causation. It's not the cause. Yes, if you have a heart attack, you're very likely to be either dropping dead on the living room floor, or you will be in the ER. So I mean, it's stating very obvious things. So if AI is not being done in such a very structured, grounded on business and how a business works and what you're doing it for, then it's a little chaotic and it's not going to generate the true value you're looking for. I mean, everyone's so worried about AI. They're going to take my job. I see it on I'm not even going to name the platforms. You all know it. You have to look through ads. They bump up videos on you. And so I look at a lot of videos on a lot of these social media platforms on mobility training, on martial arts or whatnot. And I've been in a dojo with my sons now for 3 years. And for one reason or another, those types of searches my behavior watching these types of videos brings along ads for dojos all over the country. So, I mean, if AI is going to take over our jobs, why am I getting dojo ads from Idaho, from Washington, from Florida, states I never lived in or have no plans of moving to? Why are these ads showing up on my feed? And they're charging these folks that are paying these platforms for these ads. They're charging them per view. I am a view, but I'm completely irrelevant. So let me tell you, in the short term, AI is hype. And I'm not saying AI is trash. I'm not going to say that. That's not true at all. I mean, if you think about the tech bubble, the late 90s, a lot of stocks were overpriced. There was a lot of malinvestment, a lot of investment and malinvestment. But you know what? The vision of then, the vision that there would be e-commerce, that everyone would shop on the internet and they'd be surfing their phones. And I mean, look at now. We're on the internet on our phones almost constantly. Like the vision was there, but in the short term, there was a lot of misaligned investment, overinvestment, hype. And I think that's the analogy to today, that right now AI is too hyped. We will get to a point where it makes sense. But quite honestly, AI, like machine learning, like anything else, if it is not grounded on the business and business rules, then it's not going to make sense. You can't just hire a bunch of folks that don't understand the business and pay them and tell them to tell you that they know the business better than you because they could analyze the data. They won't even know the right way to clean up the data, what to filter out, what to keep in. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about AI, and it's just like, oh my God, just make this bubble pop. Like the amount of people that are just patting each other on the back on LinkedIn, just like, oh, I use such and such model, and oh, I'm using an agent. Man, I've seen some of these agents, and they're quite embarrassing. I'll say that. So now that I got the whole AI thing off my chest, and now you guys kind of know what it is that I do on most days when I'm not talking about Libertads. That's what I'm doing. But silver, yeah, it's almost at 49. I wouldn't be shocked if we hit 49 or 50 this week. I showed this cup and handle chart in a previous video and just kind of showed, and there's a quarterly chart. I love long-term charts because it kind of weeds out any short-term noise or volatility, gives you the big picture, and it's showing that we're breaking out. And folks are thinking, there's a lot of folks in the camp of, silver's just, it's going to hit the all-time high again, and then that's it. It'll retreat again. It'll take another one of these big hits like it took in 1980 or 2011, and I'm not an expert. Again, just my personal opinion here. I'm not trying to make predictions for anyone. At the end of the day, you have to sleep in your own bed at night with the risks you take. So everybody has to do their own due diligence. But if I'm pulling up silver, this is SLV, the silver ETF, and we're just pulling up the daily closes. I'm going to zoom in a little more just to see that volume profile a little closer. So this has been the daily volume of the SLV iShares Silver Trust. And just look at that. We're in the 30s to 40s to 50 million of volume over the last couple of weeks of trading sessions. And folks, and to me, this looks drastically different than the volume profile from 2011 when we saw the all-time highs of 2011. And so 2011, we had all-time highs here right around April 28th and 29th. But look at this daily volume profile. It's so much different. Like things started to take off, easily cracked through 50 million. It went into 78 million shares traded. It ended up going into over 100 million, almost 200 million there. And I mean, at one point, it reached almost 300 million shares of daily activity. So volume profile wise, for me, as my opinion, I don't see that we're currently in any sign of topping. This is going back to the current daily volumes and prices. I don't see anything indicative of a topping process here. So I wanted to highlight something really quick. I know there's folks that don't like to sit around and listen to videos or listen to audios. They're in a situation where they can't really focus and do that, but they might be able to read instead. And so I do have a Facebook page where I essentially post. I use an AI app that essentially listens into the video and curates some notes, and then I kind of clean up the notes because it does make mistakes. It's not perfect. And so if you're not in the mood to listen, you can go, and I post these every day that I do a video. I will then go and post the notes that go along with the video. The neat thing about this, you don't want to listen, you don't want to waste time with audio, you don't have to, and you get to take the big takeaways just from reading here. What I think this will become useful in the long term is we've been talking about eBay sold comps. As we go through each of these years, I've been going on eBay and kind of showing you, the high grade coins or graded coins go for this price, raw coins go for this price, and so forth. And then over time, you get to appreciate what's been happening in the Libertad market. And we are, in fact, seeing prices appreciate considerably, in particular for some of the most sought after coins. And for that reason, it's why you're seeing a bunch of coins here on the screen. I have shown these before, and these are in the brilliant uncirculated or mint state. MS stands for mint state, or these are also known as brilliant uncirculated in the series. These are three of the most sought after in the series, and we've talked about, these coins were around, when we first started talking about them, they were around 2,000 and between, getting close to 2,500 and whatnot, and hovering around that price range. But now these are now cracking into the 3,000 price range, each one of these. And the 98, if it is the die chip variety, which this one is, and if you watch the 98 video, it'll show a close-up on a microscope of the die chip. That one's over 4,000. Seen several comps now over 4,000. So just over time, as I'm making these videos, as I'm sharing the notes, you'll kind of get to see, wow, like this guy was not kidding. The prices really are trending up. And for those of you worried about the 2025, like I said, I'm being patient. I'm just waiting. There's been no official stats on Mintage, so I would just be patient and focus in your efforts on gathering the other ones you do not have in the series and just let time play itself out. Last video we did 2007, so naturally we are talking about today focused in on the 2008. So last time the 2007 was in the top 10 in terms of scarcity. It was just 200,000 mintage, and we saw some pretty high prices there when we're looking at sold comps. This low mintage commands a higher price, especially in the high grades. But now a stark contrast to 2008, which is almost at 1 million. So a lot more mintage on the 2008. And when we do look at sold comps, you will see that the prices are lower than 2007's. Now we're looking at NGC and PCGS graded coin populations just to see the trend and what this is looking like. On the NGC side, we have 1,467 graded total with a top pop of 69 and a whole lot of 69s, 501 to be precise. On the PCGS side, we have 642 of them and the top pop of 69 as well, but only 199 of those on PCGS side. Interesting thing, I like to reference these old posts I put up on Reddit on Libertad coins, and because I was always inclined to NGC. For the most part, it is considered superior to PCGS for Mexican coinage, and so that's basically the grand bulk of my graded coins are NGC. And so that's why naturally I've been tracking them long term. And here's the old post I did 7 months ago now on the 2008, and I kind of tracked old stats. I listed the mintage there again, and I showed that The total graded population back in 2021 was 132. When I captured a snapshot of it in 2023, we were up to 246. And then what I keep warning about folks who are new collectors, and if it's not in it for you to be a top participant in the NGC or PCGS registries, and you don't want the top grade, you don't want to have to pay for it. I always tell folks, don't buy the top grade. Maybe get the 68 instead or not have to pay as much. And why I say that, again, this 2008 is a prime example. You had a population that went from 132 to 246, and now in 2025, it shot up 7 months to go to 1,427. What I keep highlighting over and over again, for the grand majority of years, less than 1% of the mintage has been graded. Less than 1%. So just like that, from one day to the next, you can see the populations explode, and then it changes. It can change the pricing dynamics from one day to the next. And that was 7 months ago, 1,427, and not much more have been graded. We're at 1,467 since then. And I'll highlight this again, specifically as it pertains to cost. For the top pop, you're naturally going to pay a pretty big premium because a lot of folks are chasing the top pop so they can be on the NGC registry and be in the top rankings and have their name up there. But if that's not what you're into, and you're considering, should I grade a coin on my own, or should I just, buy a graded coin, and I don't want a top pop, maybe you go after a 68 or a 67. And you look for that right price. And what I mean by that right price is where you consider, it costs money to have an NGC or PCGS membership. They charge you, I know NGC Elite is 150. I'm not sure how much the standard one without any credits is, but it's lower than that, but you're paying for that. Then you have to pay for the grading. Then if you want that Blue Angel label, you have to pay for that. That's an extra charge. You have to pay for the shipping and insurance. Everything starts adding up. So you take a look at what would that cost me if I bought the raw coin and I had to jump through all those hoops and hurdles, versus, hey, how much is for a 2008? How much is an MS67, or how much is an MS68? And you kind of do the calculations, if I just buy a grade, it works itself out, and I don't have to go through all the headaches of signing up for the membership, filling out forms, packaging, sending, waiting, all those headaches. You don't have to deal with this. So that's the sweet spot if you don't want to go through a lot of grading and you're not chasing the high grades, and you actually want them in a slab. And I'd mentioned in an old video, you can have a lighthouse album which will kind of show 9 slabs on a page. So it's a good way to just look at your collection whenever you want to take it out. But otherwise, that's kind of the decision point to kind of let you, should I buy the coins raw, or should I buy them graded, already graded for me? And no video would be complete on Libertad without going over some sold comps, taking a look at listings that have just ended. I sort by ended recently, so we have the latest completed listings near the top. First one here is a 1/20th ounce, so we'll skip that. We have some proofs here. Proofs are naturally higher priced because of much less mintage versus the Berlin uncirculated. This was a combo sale here. So I've actually mentioned this as kind of like a pro tip per se in an earlier video, that if you go around buying, you want to build out the Libertad set, and you go around buying one by one from unique varying sellers, your costs are going to be higher because you're just buying one item from them, and then you're paying a full shipping charge on a single coin. And this just is a perfect illustration right here. Somebody put up for sale a 2005 and a 2008 together. So I do urge you, if you're just starting out and you don't have many of them, you do a search for Silver Libertad coin lot, for example, different terms like that. So you can kind of just save on not only on the bundling of coins at once, because a lot of times it's going to be a command a higher price, especially if it's a coin lot of like 10 of them or 20 of them. Then folks, the price is going to go lower because the higher the price of something, less people are going to be out there bidding for that at the same time. And then even on the shipping side, you're going to save. You're getting more coins for a fixed shipping amount. You figure like flat rate shipping, small box, it's somewhere around $10. But you could fit one coin in there, or you could fit like 20 coins, 40 coins in there, depending how well you package and do things. And so, but it is still $10. Now you distribute $10 over one coin, or you distribute $10 over 40 coins, and you kind of make that decision. So I recommend looking out for lots when you're just starting out and you don't have many years, because then all these shipping charges start adding up. They really tack on to the price you are already paying. And that's that notion. So keep in mind, look for Mexico, ONFES, coin lot, Mexico, Libertad, coin lot, and just think of a bunch of different other terms you might use when searching for a group of them. So going back to comps, we got here a $60 comp. Funny enough, it's located in the UK. So now, because of the tariffs, we have to deal with another headache. And a lot of folks, if you're on the subreddits for USPS, UPS, FedEx, DHL, all that stuff, folks are getting a rude awakening. They're getting the items arrive, and then they have to pay some gross, absurd amount. I mean, I've seen people post up screenshots for what they claim is like a $50 item or a $40 item, and they want tariffs of like $200 just to get that. So I think in the short term, that just naturally shrinks the supply of available Libertads, because I would not go around wanting to buy a Libertad from anywhere outside the United States just due right now to the tariff situation. So that right now is going to put short-term price pressure on getting Libertad. So if it was me and the price was right, I would still not go after this one, because you got to deal with tariffs. So for the folks in the UK, yeah, that's for you. That $60 one. I'm going to skip that one. That's a graded one. Here's another raw one, $62 1 ounce, $61 1 ounce. See, here you see a graded one, MS68, went for $94. This right here, you could start calculating, NGC is going to cost at least $100 just for the membership. Then I got to pay, I think it's like $18 or $19 for the modern grading fee. If you want the fancy label, that's like another $8, $9 on top. Then you got to pay the shipping cost, the insurance cost. That starts to add up. You start making, it's $61 raw, or all those other costs. Maybe this might make sense. Maybe I should buy that graded one if I want to have a whole collection of slabbed coins. Here's back to some raw ones. We have $63, and then we even saw $70. That one is a little too shiny. That's got either it's a really good pick or they were cleaning, but I'm not going to go analyze that now. Here's a $70 on this one. This is another graded one. This is I'll touch upon this one a little bit. This is NGCX. It's basically like a 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 grading. My opinion on it, I think they were trying to ride the coattails of the card collecting business. I mean, sports cards, Pokemon cards, all that stuff is taking off. I think even more so than a lot of coins. And in the grading business, the big graders are, CGC's gotten into the card grading business, but they're relatively new. They're very new. The most well-known graders are PSA, and then Beckett has BGS. Those are the top two grading pedigrees. And essentially, I think NGC was essentially trying to ride on their coattails of like, hey, we got, if we do the 1 to 10 grading instead of the typical up to MS70, we might get a whole growth spurt of new collectors. But I mean, I don't own a single one of these, and I have no intentions of owning any one of these NGCX grade ones. Obviously, if I saw a great price, I'm gonna buy it. But I'm telling you, these days with the prices going up, at least relative and to what I anchored my previous purchase prices at, a lot of things are not deals out there. So that's just a flavor of the sold comps for the 2008. And I'm telling you, when it comes to 2025, I know there's a lot of long-term collectors. They're kind of like, oh, they're gonna mess things up. They're gonna scare off new collectors because of these alleged ultra scarce mintages of only 300 or 500 minted for 2025 mint state. I urge you, just be patient. Just wait till finally Banco publishes something on their website. Until then, it's all conjecture. And thanks for listening.
Click that subscribe button for more data-driven coin analysis.